Hi guys, welcome to Coderiff Day 7. So the first question for the day is multiple sum set. We are given an integer array of size n and we need to find the number of subsets of A whose set multiplication value is distinct and it's equal to sum of any subset of array A. So in layman terms, let's say there's a value x, okay? We should be able to find a subset whose sum value is equal to that x, and we should be able to find a subset whose multiplication value is equal to that x, right? So how many distinct x values can we find? That's the answer. So let's take an example. Let's see, this is the number, okay? So how many subsets does this array have? It would be 2 raised to the power 3, which is 8, right? So the one would be the empty subset, so let's just skip that. And I have listed all the 7 subsets and their multiplication values and the sum values, right? So let's try to find how many different x values can we find here, for which both a subset whose multiplication is equal to that and a subset whose sum is equal to that. Okay, so one can be this, 2 can be an answer, 3, 6. Okay, so these are the 4 distinct values. So the answer is 4. So what could be the brute force approach? It can be to find all the possible subsets and their multiplication values and their sum values, and then see how many distinct values are true, right? But what is the time complexity? The number of subsets for any array of size n are 2 raised to the power n, and when n goes to the power value 100, it will be 2 raised to the power 100, which is exponential time complexity. So can we do something better than that? Okay, so if we look at the constraints, n goes up to 100 and ai goes up to 100, right? So what we can do is, let's take another example. Let's take 3 1 3, right? So when we talked about the constraints, n goes up to 100, right, and ai goes up to 100. So the worst case could be when n is 100 and every number is 100. Even then the total sum would be 10,000, not more than that. Okay, we'll come to it why we are discussing this. We'll come to it in a minute. Okay, so what is the total sum for this array? It's 7, right? Although we know that the subset multiplication of some subsets can be bigger than 7, like if we take the whole array, it's also a subset, the product is going to be 9. Similarly, in the these constraints also, we know that product of some subsets will be bigger than 10,000, but the sum can never be bigger than 10,000. So are we really interested in numbers which will be bigger than the total sum? No, because although we can find subsets whose multiplication value will be bigger than total sum, but can we really find subsets whose sum will be bigger than total sum? No, because this is the maximum sum. So we are only interested in the values from 0 to total sum. This is the range where the distinct values of x will lie, right? Because we want both subsets, sum set, sum subset, and one multiplication subset, right? So what we can do is, we can make a dp of size sum plus 1. So I'm adding a 1 so that we can use 1 based indexing instead of 0 based indexing. Okay, so let's try to build it. We'll make two dps, dp and dp of 2, one for sum and one for product. Okay, so let's try to build it. It will be of size 8. Okay, so the array is 3 1 3. This is dp, this is dp of 2, these are the indexes. Okay, so in the beginning, dp of 1 is going to be true. Why? Because the empty subset has a product 1, and all the other values, we cannot have 0 as a product of an empty subset. We cannot have 2. All the values will be false. We can only have 1 as the product of a empty subset. Similarly, the sum of an empty subset is always going to be 0. That's why dp2 of 0 is true. That means we can have a subset with sum 0, which is the empty subset, right? And the other values are 0. Okay, for the first iteration, let's just do the dry run for the first iteration, which is the number 3. So we will do the iteration right to left, not left to right. Why? Because let's say we iterate from left to right. Okay, we know that dp of 1 is true, and if I can multiply it by 3, I can make dp of 3 to be true. But then when I iterate from left to right, I reach 3, then dp of 3 is also true. Then I will try to multiply that by 3 again. I'll make dp of 9 true. Okay, this will exceed, but let's try to imagine of an example where the product will still be in the range. Okay, so I'll make two multiplications for the same number. So when I reach any point, I won't be able to know when it's true if this was made true in the this current iteration or it is true from the previous iteration. So that's why what I'll do is I'll iterate from right to left. What I'll do is I'll check, can I multiply, is the product 7 possible already from previous iteration? It's not, so there's no point. So I'll keep moving right to left, right to left, right. So when I reach dp of 1, I know that the product 1 is already possible because dp of 1 is true. I'll multiply it by 3 and make dp of 3 true, and then I move to the left side, so there will be no duplicates, right? So when I was in dp1, I multiplied it by 3 and made dp3 to be true, right? And I was when I was at dp0, it's 0, so I cannot really multiply anything by it. Similarly, for the sum dp, I'll iterate from right to left. So the first true value I'll find is dp of 0. I know the 0 is true, that's why I'll try to add the current number, which is 3. I'll make dp of 3 to be true, right? And then similarly, I will iterate right to left for the second number and for the third number as well. And then at the end, we will have the both dp grids. So let's try to look at the codes to understand it better, how we can implement it, okay? Okay, so this is the function. It takes in the array and it returns an integer. Okay, so first of all, we calculate this total sum, which is going to be the size of our dp. We initialize both the dp arrays, one for multiplication, one for sum. Then we initialize the base cases. dp of 1 is 1, so that means the product of an empty subset is always 1. So we'll set dp of 1 to true. And for sum, the empty subset has a sum 0, so that's why dp of 0 is true, right? Then we iterate for all the elements, and for every element we iterate from right to left, right? And then for every number, check if dp of j is already true. Is it true? Yes. If it's true, then I can also, this number I can also make a contribution to it. Why? How? I can multiply that already number j by I, then check if the total product will be in the constraints, that is less than equal to sum. If it will be, then I'll set dp of j into I also equal to 1. In the case of sum, I'll check if dp2 of j is already true. Is it true? Okay, then I'll try to add this current number to that sum and try to make j plus y also equal to true. If it's under the constraints, I'll set dp of dp2 of j plus I equal to 1, right? I'll do this for all the numbers, and at the end I will have my dp and dp2 fully. I will have the values which I can make at the end, right? So and then I will take a variable count, and then for every value from 0 to sum, I'll check if dp of I and dp2 of I is true for both the numbers. That means that will count as a distinct x, right? So I will increase the count by 1, and at the end I'll just return the count, which will be the answer. Okay, so I hope this was clear. Let's move on to the second question.
So now we are going to solve the second problem of today, that is another counting problem. So in this problem, Alice and Bob were fighting over the last piece of cake. And then Bob said to Alice that if you can solve this problem, then you can have the rest of the cake. You are going to generate an array of size A. Elements of the array can be elements from 1 to B. So there are B to the power A possible ways to generate an array. The score of an array is equal to the number of distinct elements in array to the power C. You need to find the sum of all the possible scores of B to the power A possible arrays modulo 10 to the power 9 plus 7. Alice asked you for the help, please help him. And constraint on this problem is that A, which is the number of elements in the array to be generated, is from 1 to 10 to the power 9, and B, which is the maximum value an array element can have, is from 1 to 10 to the power 9. And the value of C in this problem is from 1 to 2000. Now let's take an example to understand this problem. So now let's take example of A equal to 3 and B equal to 2 and C equal to 2. So it means that we want to generate arrays of size 3 and all the values element can have is 1 and a 2. So now let's generate all the arrays. So one array is 1 1 1, then 1 1 and a 2, then 1 2 and a 1, and last is 2 1 1, and symmetrically there are going to be 2 2 2, then 2 2 1, then 2 1 and 2, and 1 2 2. Now let's calculate number of unique element in each array. So in this array there is only one unique element, in this array there are two unique element, in this array there are two unique element, in this array there are two unique element, and in this array there is only one unique element, and in this array there are two unique element, and in this array there are two unique element, and in this array there are two unique element, and we have to raise every number by the power of c. So we will raise all the number by the power of 2. So 1 to the power 2, 2 to the power 2, 2 to the power 2, to the power 2, 1 to the power 2, 2 to the power 2, 2 to the power 2, 2 to the power 2. So now we are going to add them up and calculate their sum. So their sum is going to be 1 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 1 plus 4 plus 4 and plus 4, and their sum is going to be is equals to 26. So this is going to be our answer for this example. Now one way to approach this problem is using dynamic programming. So we will create a dynamic programming of dimension dp I j, where I can take values from 0 till a and j can take values from 0 till b, and dp of ij denotes in how many ways we can create prefix of I elements such that out of them there are j unique elements. So dp of I j is going to be equal to dp of I minus 1 j multiplied by with j plus b minus j minus 1 times dp of I minus 1 j minus 1. So this term here denotes that we already had j unique element in first I minus 1 elements, and this j is the ith element. So this j is one of those elements that has already appeared in I minus 1 prefix. And this term here denotes that our current element is the unique element. So the ith element is unique element and it has not appeared in its prefix. So dp of I minus 1 j minus 1 is the number of ways in which we can generate prefix of I minus 1 element such that there are j minus 1 unique element. Now this ith element is going to be a unique element, so it has to be one of b minus j minus 1 elements. And after iterating over all the values of I from 0 to a and all the values of j from 0 to b, we can calculate our answer. So this is how we can compute our answer using this algorithm. The time complexity of this solution is going to be O of a cross b, which is very large, and now we have to optimize our solution. Now before solving the entire problem, let's solve a subpart of this problem. So in the subpart of this problem, we are going to calculate our answer, but we are going to fix the number of unique elements. So let it be k. So we have now fixed the number of the unique element in our array. So in this subproblem, we have to solve this problem in such a way that after creation, array A has exactly k unique element. So here out of b elements we have selected k elements. So now we are going to use these k elements to create our array A. So in array A there are a indexes from 0, 1, 2 till a minus 1. So all of these indexes are going to have one element out of these k elements. So we have to allocate these a indexes to those k elements. Now let bk1 be the first element selected from 1 to b, and bk2 be the second element selected from 1 to b, and bk3 be the third element selected from 1 to b, and let bkk be the last element selected from 1 to b. So we have selected these k elements from b, and now let's consider that out of those a indexes we gave a1 indexes to bk1 and a2 indexes to bk2 and a3 indexes to bk3 and ak indexes to bkk. Now the total number of ways of doing this allocation are going to be a factorial divided by a1 factorial multiplied by a2 factorial multiplied by a3 factorial till ak factorial. So now we have to iterate over all the combinations of a1, a2 till ak such that their sum a1 plus a2 till ak is exactly equal to a, and all these value a1, a2, a3 till ak are non-zero. So these values must be greater than or equal to 1. it means we have to give at least one index to one element. So now let's calculate if our array A has exactly k unique element, then how much that is going to contribute to our answer. So the total contribution is going to be bck multiplied by a factorial divided by a1 factorial multiplied by a2 factorial till ak factorial, such that all a of I are greater than or equal to 1, and summation of all of these ai is exactly equal to a multiplied by k to the power c. So this is the number of ways of selecting k elements from 1 to b, and this is the number of ways of allocating indexes to those k elements, and this is the contribution of individual array. Now this term here and this term here can be easily computed. Now let's try to understand how we can compute this term here. So now let's try to evaluate this term as a coefficient of some polynomial. So now what we can do is that if we write k polynomials of the form x plus x square divided by 2 factorial plus x cube divided by 3 factorial and so on, and one more polynomial of the form x plus x square divided by 2 factorial plus x cube divided by 3 factorial and so on till the kth polynomial. And here you can see that the number in the power and the number in the denominator, so these factorials in the denominator are exactly same. So now if we multiply all of these k polynomials, then in the end we are going to get a polynomial of the form x and x square and x cube and so on. So all of these terms are going to get some coefficient here. So now let's try to understand what is going to be the coefficient of some generic term x to the power alpha. So now let's consider that from this polynomial we took an element with the power x to the power alpha, and from this polynomial we took a term with x to the power alpha 2, and from here alpha 1, and till from this last polynomial we took an element with x to the power alpha k. So their multiplication is going to be x to the power alpha 1 multiplied by x to the power alpha 2 till x to the power alpha k, and in the denominator we are going to get alpha 1 factorial, alpha 2 factorial till alpha k factorial. So on simplifying we are going to get x to the power alpha 1 plus alpha 2 plus alpha 3 till alpha k, and in the denominator we are going to get alpha 1 factorial multiplied by alpha 2 factorial till alpha k factorial. So the coefficient of a generic term x to the power alpha is going to be the summation of 1 over alpha 1 factorial, alpha 2 factorial till alpha k factorial, such that alpha 1 plus alpha 2 plus alpha 3 till alpha k are equal to alpha. And these alphas will never be zeros, because here in this polynomial we are always taking all the powers that are greater than or equal to 1. So these alphas will always be greater than or equal to 1. So now if we consider the coefficient of x to the power a, then that coefficient is going to be the summation of 1 over a1 factorial, a2 factorial till ak factorial, such that a1 plus a2 plus a3 till ak are equal to a, and all of these ai are going to be greater than or equal to 1, because all the powers in our polynomial are greater than or equal to 1. If we look at this function, then this is nothing but e to the power x minus 1. Now the total contribution of all the arrays with exactly k unique element is going to be bck a factorial multiplied by e to the power x minus 1 to the power k and k to the power c. So all the polynomials of the form x plus x square divided by 2 factorial plus x cube divided by 3 factorial were nothing but e to the power x minus 1, and those polynomial were multiplied k times. So finally we are going to get e to the power x minus 1 to the power k. So the total contribution is going to be the coefficient of x to the power a in this polynomial. And if we iterate over all the values of k from 0 till b, so we are iterating over how many unique elements we are going to have at the end in our array a. So if we iterate over all the values of k, then this summation here is going to give us our final result, and this a factorial is common, so we have taken this out. So the coefficient of x to the power a in this polynomial is going to be our final result. So each term of this summation is a polynomial, and if we add all these polynomial together, then in the end the coefficient of x to the power a is going to be our final result. So now let's try to calculate the coefficient of x to the power a in this polynomial. So what we can do is that we can substitute e to the power x minus 1 with a y, and this a factorial is a constant, and we can take this out. So the new equation is going to be summation of k goes from 0 till b, bck y to the power k and k to the power c. Now let's try to write multinomial expansion of 1 plus y to the power b. So it is going to be is equals to the summation of k goes from 0 till b, bck and y to the power k. And if we differentiate both the side by y, then we are going to get b 1 plus y to the power b minus 1 is going to be equal to summation of k goes from 0 till b, b c k y to the power k minus 1, and we are going to get k here. And now let's multiply both the side by y. So we are going to get b times y times 1 plus y to the power b minus 1 is equal to summation of b c k y to the power k and k here. So we have multiplied both the side by y, and now we are going to again differentiate this. So we are going to get b y 1 plus y to the power b minus 2, and we are going to get b minus 1 here, plus b 1 plus y to the power b minus 1, and we are going to get a 1 here, and it is going to be equal to summation of b c k y to the power k minus 1 and k square. So now again we are going to multiply both the side by y. So we are going to get b into b minus 1 y square 1 plus y to the power b minus 2 plus b times 1 plus y to the power b minus 1 multiplied by y, and on this side we are going to get summation of b c k y to the power k and k square. And here we can see that we differentiated this function twice, and we got here 2 in the power of k. So if we differentiate this function c time, then in the end we are going to get k to the power c here and y to the power k and summation of b c k, and this is something we want to evaluate. So after differentiating both the sides c times, we can calculate the coefficient of x to the power a on the right side. After differentiating both the side c times and multiplying both the side by y c times, all the terms on the left side are going to be of the form y to the power a multiplied by 1 plus y to the power b and some coefficient here, and using dynamic programming we can maintain these coefficient. And after differentiating both the sides c times, we can resubstitute y equal to e to the power x minus 1 and calculate the coefficient of x to the power a on the left side. One thing to notice here is that this a and this b are always add up to a capital B. Now let's look at the solution code. In our solution code we have created two functions. One is expo and the second function is a compute. So here what we are doing is that in this expo function we are performing an exponentiation function here. So we are going to compute base to the power exponent modulo a mod. So here base to the power exponent can be very large, and this helper function is going to help us to compute the value under a modulo. So here we are doing that, and this compute function here is going to help us in computing all the binomial coefficient that we need in our solution. So to compute the binomial function, what we are doing is that we are using the property of Pascal triangle, that is Cij is nothing but C of I minus 1 j and C of I minus 1 j minus 1 modulo mod. Now let's look at the actual solution code of this problem. So before solution code, here what we have done is that we have created global DP matrix, a G array and a PW array. In the solution code here, we are getting the variable n, m and k. So these n, m and k are nothing but capital A, capital B and capital C, as we understood in our solution approach. So here we are doing our pre-computation, and here we are storing the value minus 1 in our DP matrix. And in this statement here, for all the values of I from 0 to k plus 1, what we are doing is that we are computing PW of I. So PW of I is nothing but b minus 1 to the power a. And in this segment of the code, we are computing g of I, and for calculating g of I, this is the formula. So for every value of I here, we are iterating over all the values of j from 0 till I, and we are computing this function. So in this statement here and here, we are doing that computation, and as values can be very large, we have to do all the computations under a modulo. And here we are calling the function fill of k0. So this function, what this function is going to do is that it is going to compute the value of dp of k0, and it is going to return it, and in the end we are going to return that value, because that is going to be our final answer. Now let's understand what this fill function is doing. So it is taking three argument diffs a and this tot. So this tot is always constant, and its value is nothing but a capital B, as in our solution approach. And here after that, if dp of diffs a is calculated, then simply return it. And then we are creating a variable b, which is nothing but tot total minus a, which is nothing but capital B minus small a. And after that, if diffs is 0, then this is a base case. In that case, value of dp of diffs a is nothing but g of a, and we are going to return that. or else we are going to calculate the value of dp of diffs a, and this is the formula for calculating dp of ij. So dp of ij is nothing but j times dp of I minus 1 j plus b minus j dp of I minus 1 j plus first. And here by multiplying 1 ll we are making sure that we are doing all the calculations in long and we are not running into an overflow, and here in the end we are taking a modulo. And in any case, if a is 0 or b, this small b is 0, in that case we are evaluating this thing to a 0 long. And after computing the value of dp of diffs a, it is going to return it. So that was the solution code for this problem. We are creating a dp matrix of size c square, array g of size c, and array pw of size c. So the time complexity of this solution is going to be O of c square, because we are creating a matrix of size c square and we are then computing it. And the space complexity of this solution is going to be O of c square, because we are creating a matrix dp of size c square. So the time complexity as well as the space complexity are going to be of the order of c square. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe and share it with your friends.